doing this video because we went to one of the Saginaw County hospitals for a kidney MRI, and it was a setup. It was a bust. It's a bust. It wasn't a bust. It's a bust. It was just a setup to waste time. They let me have a pillow this time. They said because I'm not doing anything with the neck or back. But still, they put some kind of coil blanket on me, and they said I could, compared to last time, at least I could put my hands above my head. But I have joint disorder. I can't move my arms, or at least my right arm, generally above my shoulder, or sometimes it pops out of socket just a little bit, but enough to cause a lot of pain. So, and they crammed me in there, and I also forgot my aspirator. So if I did have an asthma attack, I don't have any medication. But besides that, I couldn't move in there. They said, "Oh, you can fit a 500-pound person in there." I don't believe it, because it's like 58 to 62 inches. My waist and my torso with my arms at my side, it's like 58 to 62 inches. And if I had a breathing problem, because I could tell the filters and the vents, they're all dusty. I haven't had any problem in that MRI before, but you never know. So I try to always be prepared, because the time's going to come when I can't so easily work through an asthma attack. I'm going to need some kind of medication, and the VA won't admit it because Saginaw VA has bad intentions for me. But even their own diagnostic measures less than 5 to 20% effectivity when I take the aspirator. My airway changes less than 20% change. So that barely, that's just slightly above chance. Slightly above a chance interval, which means if I have a serious asthma attack, the only two options will be to intubate me or to trach me. Because it's structural as well as mucolytic. But they won't admit that, even though it's on the paperwork. Anybody who's educated and reads through it, they can see. They can see the forest through the trees. But so I went in there, they stuffed me in there, and I couldn't move. And I'm pretty sure that when I went in before, they had already put the contrast in before I was into the tube all the way up to my chin, and I'm like, pull me out. I can't do this. I am stuffed in here. I can't move. If I have an asthma attack, I can't do it. And I was only given one tiny pillow. Like a pillow like you're going to get on an airline. That's all I had. That was not a situation where I was prepared to take the risks if I had an asthma attack, or if my airway, which my throat is getting worse, it vibrates like a motorcycle. And I'm not making a joke or being facetious. It vibrates like a motorcycle. And if I'm laying the wrong way at night, it'll vibrate so much that my ears and my throat will itch. I'll start coughing. And this is with a CPAP on. With a CPAP. And then I'll turn over. But yet they're telling me that my apneic and hypopneic events are doing much better. I'm at an AHI of 6. That's apopneic. No, that's apneic. Apneic. I forgot what AHI. I know AHI from the call center. That's actual handling time, or actually handling interval. But anyway, the hypopneic index maybe. But they said, oh, you're at a 4 to 6 per hour. It's not. It's nothing to make a cake about. And they don't differentiate them in their stats. They don't differentiate. There's a big difference between a hypopneic event and an apneic. An apneic event is full closure. There's oxygen loss. And if anything bad happens, like it's not properly opened, or you don't move, or your body doesn't wake up, you could go into cardiac arrest. I mean, first you'll become hypoxic. But they just won't do anything about my throat. And they want to send me to shove some inch-thick tube down my throat when I could barely get a tablespoon of mashed potatoes or a teaspoon of mashed potatoes without having to gulp it down. And they want to put something down my throat while I'm sedated. And I was told, hey, don't have to worry, you'll be in the hospital, so if anything happens, we have the full resources of the hospital. It doesn't help anything. You know, I have faith, but also, you know, I'm a military person. I don't walk into something that is an obvious ambush, or obviously I'm taking, you know, a 95% risk as to a normal 5 to 10% risk. That's a big difference. But, so, yeah, you know, that's just common. You know, they just stuffed so much stuff on top of me, and then my hands at my side, and, you know, did they really have to stuff me into my chin? They said, oh, we did everything that has to be done for an abdominal MRI. I don't know. But I know last time I got an MRI for the neck, it reached all the way down to my diaphragm. So why did I have to go in there all the way up to my neck? This is reverse. Last time I was from the top down. This time I'm from the bottom up. I don't know. So I didn't change. I didn't change. And it's still pretty much the same area. Cervical, kidneys. So we're not talking about a vast difference, you know. Not really. And again, they stuffed all that stuff on me. I said, you know, I'm obese. And I said, you're putting another maybe 5, 10, 15 pounds on my stomach. You're locking my stomach to my side. And they said, oh, you're having a claustrophobic event. I'm like, put whatever you want on paper. The fact of the matter is that, you know, and I told the scheduler this was not properly resolved. It was dismissed. And I don't find it funny when nurses find it funny that a patient is uncomfortable and they're unwilling to look for proper resolution of the situation, or even to consider, what if? What if? What if I had a serious asthma attack? What if? What if I had a reaction to the contrast? You may have a contrast 5, 10 times in your life, and all of a sudden that one time it activates. I do have an allergy to shellfish, but it's not activated. It's never been activated. But there's the potential there, according to my blood plasma reactivity, which means there's a genetic disposition, even though it's not activated. And that's what contrast is made from, is from the colorings of shellfish. So, I mean, at least I didn't waste the VA's money by getting halfway through, you know. But then again, halfway through, we'd have some kind of imaging. I don't know. I just feel like continually I am set up, you know. And this was a setup today, I believe. You know, they just kept putting the stuff on me. You know, the coil blanket, which is thick and heavy, and then some other stuff on top of me, some kind of board or something. And she said, oh, this is the largest MRI they make. We could put somebody that's 500 pounds in here. No, they can't. My circumference of my belly, and actually I won't say my belly, I'll say my waist, plus my hands. Waist with my hands at my side, like at attention, you're talking about 48 inches. 48 to 50 inches. and you're going to add circumference if I'm putting them at my side, and you're measuring from my belly, you're probably talking, I would say, anywhere from 54 to 60. So there's no way that they can fit somebody who's 500 pounds in there. Fit them. There's no way. They would have to literally stuff them in the machine. The machine is not that wide. Because if I was in there and I had to turn in any direction, I wouldn't be able to. So there's no way they could fit somebody that's 500 pounds in there. There's no way. So we're not going to know what's really wrong with the kidneys. What are those cysts? Because nobody will deal with my throat. And they would rather paint it as a claustrophobic event. I said, call it whatever you want. I don't care. If they want to slap another diagnosis on me, of course I will contravene it, and if possible I will litigate it. I know I'm not claustrophobic, but when you stuff somebody into a space that literally is smaller than a casket, remember, in a casket you have enough space. You have about 3 to 4 inches on each side, each shoulder, 3 to 4 inches. You can roll over in a casket. In this MRI today, I could not.